to be honest, I did want to give a story time. I'll say circle back to 2017. I was dating this guy. Now, he was from my hometown. We are in the same city, went to the same school in elementary school, but back in school, he wore the biggest glasses, bifocals, like I've ever seen. And he was like a little nerdy and stuff like that. But I just remember back then one day him taking off his glasses. They might have been broke or something too. Like I remember him taking them off one day and his eyes were so pretty when he took off his glasses, and he had like long eyelashes, and I always remembered that. So when we started dating in 2017, I was like, you remember, like, back in the 6th grade when we sit by each other, that one time you took off your glasses? Like, yeah, I always knew you were cute, but, we didn't talk or date way back then, but 2017 was on. And when I tell you that this man had turned into the finest man ever, and this is where the story is going to get a little crazy, because that man, with a lot of the trauma that he had dealt with from his childhood and things way back then, not only had he grown into a fine man, but he also held on to a lot of the trauma from what he dealt with. And I had heard stories like he was actually like previously divorced and had kids and stuff like that. And I had my kids as well too when we started dating in 2017. But I had heard that, he was abusive to women. I mean, how do you take that type of stuff? You don't make it not make you not want to date the person, but it did, it stayed in the back of my mind. And going back from the beginning of our relationship, he was a really good guy. Like, I felt like he wanted me to be in his circle of friends. He introduced me to people that we could network with and things like that. Like, women that were kind of pursuing the same things I was doing, as well as like his guy friends. So it was almost like, including me in the things that were important to him outside of work, and like us just being together, like he actually wanted me to be included. So it was hard when a few months in, I had to deal with that situation of him being abusive. It will get to the point where he would try to fight. He wanted to fight with me about the smallest things. Like, he would pick fights with me about, anything. And after those few months, had become so afraid that it was almost like I tried to shrink myself. Like I didn't know what else to do but to like let him have it. I was like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. I don't want you to hit me. He would do things like hit me, pull my hair, grab things to hit me with and everything. And it was just like, I felt so defeated after feeling so included, so accepted, so loved by him, and a part of his life, that he would literally, like, after some months be hurting me in this way. So it was like almost like I felt like he kind of enjoyed the fact that I was trying to make myself small, basically, like around him. Like, I feel like the light that I shined was something that he was trying to take away from me, because it was almost like I could see the smirk on his face when it would be like, yeah, she's trying to make herself small and tiny and insignificant because she doesn't want me to hit her, or she doesn't want me to take out this anger on her. Like, he would get mad about everything, so much stuff, and even at other people. And it was like I had to be the one to pay for if somebody upset him that day, or just something that he wanted to fight with me about. So it was horrible. And I remember the day that I decided to try to get him out of my house. We had moved in and everything, and trying to get him out was like I felt like I was in like a movie because I had to plan that day to the T so well that I had to drop him off or take him to go pick up something. I think he had to pick up a shirt for a video or something that he was going to do. He had to go up to someone's job to get it. And I was like, this is when I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to leave him here. Like, when he gets out the car to go into the person's job to get the shirt, I'm going to pull off. And then I'm going to go back home, get my kids and go back to the house, and I'm going to call the police so the police can be there when he gets back to the house to get his things out of my house. Like, I had become fed up. Like, it was nothing else I could do, nothing else I could take. So I'm literally driving. I remember the day I got so nervous, just driving him to the place. And it was like once we got to the place that he was going in to pick up the shirt, I was like, Courtney, like, you only have about 5 minutes tops to get out of here once he gets out of the car into the place, just for you to be able to speed off. Like, you don't have much time. When I tell you that I pulled in the first parking space of the place, of the job, in the parking lot, and it was almost like something like went off in his mind, because he was about to get out of the car and go in the building. And I don't know if that moment was when I was about to flee, that he realized that I was about to leave him. He jumped back in the car. Oh my God, you guys. He jumped back in the car, like turned around, jumped back in the car because I was about to speed off. And I just remember like putting the car back in park and getting out of the car, because he was like trying to hit me in the back seat. Like, he jumped back in the car in the back seat and he was trying to like hit me. So I parked the car fast and I jump out and I'm like, no, get out. Like, I'm yelling to people in the parking lot, telling them like, get him out of my car. Like, I don't want anything to do with him. And like, just, I was trying to make a scene because I wanted someone to help me. So he ended up, I guess feeling embarrassed. And I'm not even gonna say flustered. He was embarrassed that I was like drawing attention. So he was like, I'm leaving. I'm going here. I'm calling my sister. So he's like walking in the store, calling his sister, come get me, this girl, this bitch, leaving me, blah, 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 whatever. So I speed off back to my house. And I'm just like, I got to get in here, call the police so they can be here. Because he already done called his sister. She already on the way to come get him. Because, that's the thing about sisters. They don't waste no time about their brothers. So I knew that even with me getting home at the time I did before him and his sister hadn't even got there yet, I felt like I still only had about 2 or 3 minutes tops. That's how fast I'm thinking, like, she gonna get there to him and they're gonna be back at the house already. So I'm calling the police to be there to get his things out. And y'all, I just remember it being just a crazy situation. Like, being thankful that the police were there. But I remember there's one thing the officer was like, this happens all the time with women. Like, they want the guy gone. And then, in a couple of days, he's right back at the house. And the officer was like, women that deal with domestic violence, they let the guy come back. And then it, tragic to say that, it ends up being something else, all because you wanted out of the situation. You, called us on him, like the police, and then we get him out of here, but then you let him back. So, I was just crying. I just remember bawling like, no, I'm not gonna have him come back. Like, this is it. I just want him out. I just want him out. And the cop was like, all right. And he was like, well, if I see him, I was in an apartment. I was living in an apartment. And he was like, if I'm the property officer, so if I see him out here, he will be arrested. And I was like, okay, officer, like, I just want him gone. He won't be back out here. He's like, okay, I believe you. But I just said all that to say, like, people who I was going to in the midst of all that happening, like, I feel like so much was revealed to me, not only about him, but the people that I was around, that I was confiding in, that I thought was friends, because it was like nobody cared. And some of the women that I had met through him, like from his friend groups and like that he introduced me to, they had things going on the side with him that I didn't even know about. Like before I even became a part of the friend group, stuff I didn't know. So it was almost like they were happy I was having those problems. And it was just like, it put me in a bad space, because like that, in many other situations where it was just like, do people care about me? Like, do people love me? Do people, like, why am I like a target? And why don't people feel sympathy for me? It's like, I'm coming to you to confide in you, and then you hit me over the head with some information that, oh, your cousin, or that someone else that was messing with him. Like, I'm coming to you as a friend, or as someone that I thought I could talk to, and you're adding insult to injury. And even the people in my life that were outside of that group, it was like no one cared. And it was just like what type of situation, or how sad it is to find yourself in that type of situation where you don't have friends or family that you can turn to. And it kind of made me into a tough person, because I had to wake up to who I am, and that was the toughest thing to do, because if you're already dealing with a traumatic situation on top of having like all these realizations about what type of environment you're in, it was hard. It was so hard. And like, just looking back on those things that I dealt with, and it was just like, how did you even make it through? I mean, I know how I made it through. It was nothing but God. But it was definitely some of the core learning experiences of my life. But, I just encourage women to make sure you're true to yourself. Separate from the friends and the family that are not supportive, and like, learn your lessons. You have to learn your lessons, and you don't have to let it get so far before you learn, because that's the biggest thing about that situation, is that it wasn't a long relationship. It wasn't long before I knew that this was not like, everything I felt about that man could not overtake like the feeling of hurt and abuse that I felt. Like, the love couldn't overshadow the abuse, and I would never want that for myself or anyone else. So, just a learning experience. I thought I'd share that with you guys. But, ciao.